Let's start from the top. I'm going to ask you questions this evening for the things that I see that you get challenged most on. So we'll start. The first question to you is, what do you say to people who say you don't understand and ask regarding qualifications that you have? This is something that was obviously, I'm looking back at that post and they were saying that you're not qualified to give the answers that you do.
Okay, so there's two questions there, so let's narrow it down first. So first of all, let me address saying that, was it I don't understand?
Yeah, that you obviously you don't understand maybe what...
So I don't understand in qualifications?
Correct.
Okay, two different things. So first of all, for people who say that I don't understand, well, that's completely bullshit, and the reason why it's bullshit is because people can make them assumptions, but they don't know my past, they don't know what I've gone through. So for me, I've lived with depression practically most of my life. My parents suffered from depression, my dad suffered from depression, and as a kid I was brought up in a house where I lived with that every single fucking day. And my dad, he talks into that now of when I was younger, sometimes he wouldn't speak for 3 weeks at a time. And when you're a 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid and you're wondering why people don't speak and your dad's not speaking and questioning what have you done wrong, like I used to, and that would sometimes be 2-3 weeks at a time. So I've watched it, I've lived with it, and this is no secret. My dad talks into it now. The fact that he has had his challenges with mental health. My mum's the same. They've both had mental health challenges throughout their life, and I've lived with that. I've been in that house. Obviously, my mum and dad split up, and I predominantly lived with my grandma and granddad as a kid. But I've seen it firsthand. I know what it's like I was in this house actually, so I was in this house, and a day that I'll never forget, because we were out in the conservatory. I'd not long lived in here, and on a Sunday morning, I hear a knock on the door and think, who the hell's here on a Sunday morning? We've got training going on. And my brother's outside, could see him crying his eyes out, and I opened the door and he can barely speak. Absolutely heartbroken, and tells us that our little cousin Lee's just hung himself. I've also experienced that. Obviously that's an emotional thing for me. 2 years ago, getting a phone call off one of my good mates, someone I've grown up with, and telling me that my best mate in the army's hung himself. Like, this shit's fucking real for me. I've grown up with this. I've had it all the way through my fucking life. So not just being in an environment in Teesside in general. We've got the highest suicide rate in the fucking UK in Teesside. So I'm surrounded by it. The amount of people that I know that in Redcar who've committed suicide, and then I've lived with it, like I say, all the way through my life. I've watched it with my dad. I've had that experience of someone knocking on my door and my little cousin taking his own life. And then people say, well, you haven't experienced that. I have fucking experienced that. So I've had 2 low points in my life, and the first time was in Iraq, and I looked down the barrel of a fucking loaded weapon. That's how low that I was in Iraq. And being able to reflect on that now, I know why I was so low, because I didn't have the skill set, I didn't have the emotional intelligence to recognise what was going on. And in a nutshell, because it was red hot out there, it's 50 degrees, you're on ration packs, lost a lot of weight, and as growing up as a kid, and there'll be people who are on here now who know this, that when people say, oh, I was the small kid in the class, I was the smallest kid in the entire year group, and people often use that of, oh, I was this or that. I was that person. I was the person that grew up. I didn't start puberty till I was 18-year-old. That's not fucking cool to be a dude and be 18-year-old and fucking just starting puberty. So going through school and being this small skinny kid, I had a big ego issue in terms of people doubting me, people writing me off my whole life, and wanting to prove people wrong. And in Iraq, losing all that weight and feeling like I was going back to that kid who spent a lot of time in hospital. I was very poorly as a child. And it took me back to those times, and my self-image took a big knock. And when you're in 50-degree temperature with flies, red hot, people go on holiday and it's red hot and it's 35 degrees. Try going to Iraq when it's 50 degrees and you're wearing body armour and people want to fucking kill you. That's when shit changes, when you're in an environment like that. And shit got on top of me. And I openly admit that was probably the lowest point I think that I reached, and I did contemplate taking my own life. I fucking looked down the barrel of a loaded weapon and I could have just ended it as quick as that. And I sometimes reflect back to that and think, what was it that stopped me? What was it that stopped me in that time? And the second time that I had this was 2000, and it sort of built up. So after my granddad died, I triggered PTSD, and I didn't deal with his death very well at all. And I then started to dream. It came on as a dream at first that I was back in Iraq. I'm dreaming that I'm back in there with the flies, the heat, all the shit, that pressure. But what I'd done was, and this is something that I talk, this is the power of the mind, how when it's working for you, it can work. It can be the most powerful thing in the world. When it's working against you, and not that you're not controlling it, but when you're putting your focus somewhere else and you're using it against you, then it can be absolutely deadly. And what I'd done was, I read a story in the paper about 4 military policemen, and they basically ran out of ammunition in Iraq, and they were publicly tortured. They were beheaded in front of the town publicly. And when I read that story, it really, really upset me. Like, I just had one of my good mates, a lad who I really looked up to in the army, had just been killed in Iraq, Foxy. So rest in peace, Foxy. I know there'll be probably people on here who know Foxy. And then I read this thing in the paper about the 4 military policemen, and I started having dreams and attached that stressful time in Iraq to me being the one that ran out of ammunition. That never happened to me. But because I obviously was upset by that thing, and then a traumatic time that I had in 2003, and it was both military related, for whatever reason my mind pieced them together. And 2012 it got worse. 2013 I was having these dreams 4 or 5 times a night and didn't tell anybody at all. I was ultra fit, ultra strong in the gym. Nobody would have known at all. But inside, I was fucking scared to go to sleep because I knew what was coming. And eventually I cracked, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, that I went to see an army psychologist about the dreams that I was having, and I was suffering from PTSD. And after a bit of therapy, I was able to realise that the whole thing had been triggered actually not by the army, it was by my granddad's death. And because I'd buried it, they just tried to forget about it. It had brought up your subconscious mind. If you bury something and it's not dealt with, it's unresolved. So when people have things happen to them from a kid, or maybe they've had a traumatic time, a crash, physical, sexual abuse, anything like that, something traumatic, if that's undealt with, the subconscious mind will bring it back up at a time where it feels like you will deal with it. So that's why I personally feel that I can talk into it. I've lived with it my whole life. I've experienced it. I've been around it, and I've felt it myself. The second question around qualifications, there's a couple of things on this. People often see me as the property guy who is now doing a bit of mindset. Well, it's actually the other way around. I was doing mindset before I was doing property. So 18 years I've been a coach, so I was a coach in the military, and I just took to it. You might have seen my post I put on today. It was funny that came up because it was 2 years to the day I posted my school reports, and I don't know if you've read that.
I saw that. Disruptive, used to cause problems, lack of effort.
Yeah. So all of those things, I just didn't get on at school. I didn't like it. But what I did do is I had a real passion for training the body at a young age, sort of physical training. I wanted to work in a gym. I wanted to be like a fitness instructor and things like that. So when I went in the army and found myself going down that route, for the first time I loved education. Like I just completely was like, wow, there is actually something that I like and there's something that I enjoy learning about. And I just literally just consumed it more and more. And I would say I'm at a state where I'm obsessed. You know that. I probably listen to personal growth for... I'm in a positive environment all day for starters. We're around growth all day, as you know. I get up in the morning, I listen to personal growth. I listen to it in the gym. When I go to bed every single night, I listen to it. Some days I can listen to personal growth 8-10 hours a day. Sometimes on a weekend I will listen to it all day. So in terms of qualifications, I've got coaching qualifications. I'm also trained in NLP. And one thing I will say about qualifications is people get bogged down with qualifications. Now, on this video, I want people to think logically. There's some things that I'm going to talk about here, and I want people to think into it logically. We have this massive thing about you have to be qualified. So what I want you to do is rewind back to the point before the very first person was qualified. How did that person who was very first qualified, who trained them? It had to have been an unqualified person. So does that not prove that there was people who were probably like myself? I mean, they might have had no qualifications. I've got qualifications, but it could have been somebody that had 0 qualifications, but was in a very positive state, had the ability to not be fazed by anything, have the bulletproof mindset, as I say that I have, but also be able to impact other people as well. And from that, people would have been influenced by somebody or people like that and went, wow, this is life-changing. Be around that guy or be around that woman. They're really positive. They've got some principles, some laws that they follow. And when you follow them, you get this result or you feel this particular way. And then obviously qualifications have been formed from that. So for me, I've got a massive respect for people with qualifications. Anyone who's trained in a degree to be a doctor, to be a nurse, anyone who works in mental health at all, I've got massive respect. I'm not saying my way is the only way. There's other people out there and they have a very different method to me. I know some people don't like the way that I come across and the fact that I'm very direct. And I'm sure you'll have some questions about that. We'll talk into that, no doubt. But the point that I'm making is around the qualifications is, for me, it's not that important, because another thing what I want you or the listeners to think into is, and not many people know this, that doctors in the USA, so in America, doctors is the #1 profession in America that commits suicide. And in the UK, I think it's around about the 5th. But it's been in the top 10 in the UK and in America for the last 50 years. So what does that fucking say? That people with qualifications are not immune to fucking mental health problems. And there's a reason for that. There's 3 levels of awareness. There's intellectual knowledge. So humans don't take action off the basis of intellectual knowledge. And an example of that is a smoker. So smokers know that you can't exactly fucking hide it. On a pack of cigarettes, it's got a picture of people's fucking throats hanging out and saying smoking kills. It's not like they don't know. It's just an intellectual level. We don't take action off it. As humans, we don't take action. And that's the same thing with doctors. Just because they've got the intellectual knowledge, it doesn't mean that they're able to control their own mindset. At a second level, we've got emotional awareness. At an emotional level, humans do take action off the back of emotions. So that could be a little girl. It could be Sadie comes to me. I could be a smoker, and Sadie comes to me and says, "Dad, please don't smoke. I want you to be at my 21st birthday. I want you to walk me down the aisle." And me go, "Fuck yeah, that's just give me a realisation." Or it could be a scare. A smoker. My granddad stopped smoking after he had a heart attack. That realisation of, "Fuck, I'm going to die. Like, I don't stop smoking, I'm going to die." So an emotional trigger does create behavioural change in people. However, there's a fucking major problem here. Our emotions change. And when your emotions change, we make different decisions, we take different types of action. So the emotion's only there as long as that emotional change is only there as long as the commitment is. So if that commitment's not there, then when we change emotion, it's a bit like going drinking. So I'm sure you've experienced it where you've gone out and had a stinking hangover, thought you were going to die the next day, and went, "I'm fucking not drinking ever again." And you meant it. When you said it, you genuinely think, "I'm not drinking ever again." Like, I literally thought I was going to die. And week later, sun's out, music's on, and all of a sudden that emotion's changed and you're back out on the piss again. So yes, emotion it creates change in people, but it's not permanent. It only becomes permanent when it's at an identity level. So if you ask me, do I want a cigarette? I say no, because I don't smoke. So I own it at an identity level. And there is no words that I have that I can describe, put the passion and meaning into what I'm actually saying here. Somebody's self-image, how they feel about themselves, is controlling everything. That belief, so your self-image is belief, what you believe about yourself. What you believe about yourself and life, that is dictating your entire life. Simple as that. So when I look at somebody, I know what beliefs they have by looking at the results straight away. That tells me everything that I need to know about the person. Just like if somebody tells me what beliefs they have, I also know what results they're going to get as well, because your results will always be in line with your beliefs. And this is proven now to actually affect our biology. Your beliefs can actually affect your biology. We'll come on to that a bit later. So going back to the point of the qualifications, the doctor thing, is doctors, yes, they've got qualifications, but it doesn't, the very fact that doctors are the number one in committing suicide, and people say, well, they've got access to drugs, it's easier for them. Well, that shouldn't even fucking come into it. If you're qualified in the mind and you've spent 8 years studying the mind and helping people out to fucking get out of depression, well, why the fuck are they committing suicide? Which is absolutely proof that knowledge isn't enough. So for me, and this is no disrespect to doctors, because like I say, I've got massive respect to doctors for what they're doing. Anyone who commits the time, like I say, for helping other people, I've got massive respect. But for me, I would prefer to listen to maybe someone with no qualifications. It's a happy housewife who looks after the kids, maybe has a challenges with disabled kids or something like that. No qualifications, but is able to manage them herself, is able to have challenging children with a disability and completely control her emotions, control her world, than a doctor who's fully qualified, because just because you're qualified doesn't mean you're fucking practicing it. So for me, I practice it. I am this, I'm starting to push it more, I am the discipline model, and hopefully you'll ask me some questions I can maybe talk into that around the end. But that discipline model, I am it, I fucking own it. I don't need, even if I didn't have coaching qualifications or NLP, I don't need them. I've mastered my mind. If that's not fucking enough, and I'm able to show the people how to do that as well.
Spot on.
Long-winded answer.
I've got a lot of questions. The responsibility. Now, the reason, again, I'm going to go back to that post that you put in. You obviously got challenged a lot, and they did say it was the way that you worded it. In the tag, it was that there's no job is stressful. Nobody spoils your day. It's not your fault. However, you do have a responsibility. That's the chunk there that caused a big divide. I don't know whether you can talk about that and just maybe explain to the people viewing. On that note, by the way, if you are watching, make sure you do hit the watch party. At the end of the day, that we do want obviously a lot of people to watch this, hopefully to get a feel of what Stephen's trying to get across here. But yeah, so that, please hit the watch party. But yeah, that post in particular on responsibility, it's not your fault, however you do have a responsibility. That was the sentence that kept coming up in the thread. Just want to shed some light on it.
Yeah, I mean, this question, if you want to piss a whole load of people off in one go, this is usually the question that can do it. The thing with myself is we're all on a learning journey, and when people say, he knows everything, I don't think I know everything. The day you think you know everything is the day you know nothing. And I openly accept that on that post. I don't change what I said. I stand by what I said, but I didn't have enough rapport in that group. That was the learn for me, that there wasn't enough rapport in that group, and there wasn't some people that was ready for that particular message. But 100%, like, if you aren't taking responsibility for your life, then you can't do anything about it. You've given the power to someone else. So if you blame the government, you blame your parents, you blame teachers, you blame your friends, you blame the fucking Tories or Labour or lack of money, whatever it is, you've now given the power away to somebody else. So you can't do fuck all about it. A lack of responsibility, so break it down, responsibility, it's your ability to respond to something. But if you've blamed it on something external, you now you can't empower yourself to do something about that particular thing. Now, where people read into it more than what it was, people said, well, okay, are you saying that it's my fault that I was physically abused or sexually abused? No, I'm absolutely not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that if you don't take a responsibility for your emotions, then you will never ever be empowered, and you will always live in that whirlpool of shit. And somebody who's done something bad to you, you're allowing them to control you for the rest of your life. And I tell you what was really evident was the interview with Chris McGlade. And Chris McGlade talked into the fact that his dad was strangled and set alight and burnt, and he wasn't going to give that power to his dad's murderer and hold that anger for him. He'd already had enough of his power. He was taking the ownership back. So although you might not forget about what someone's done, you learn to, you might not want to forgive them, but not forget it. And that's what Chris sort of done. So take responsibility for your emotions, but yeah, people do bad things to people. We can't avoid that, and especially when this happens to children, and you know some of the people that I've worked with that have been physically and sexually abused as children. Do they need to take responsibility for that? It's absolutely not their fault, and I'm not saying that. But what they need to do is not allow that person to fucking affect them for the next 50, 60 years. Take that fucking power back, because at the end of the day, the only one thing we have the power to control is our own mindset.
Yeah. Kind of leads well into the next one. Why does nothing faze you?
Why does nothing faze me? Nothing fazes me because there's nothing to be worried about. Humans are fucking amazing at overcomplicating shit. Amazing at it. And we've got a fucking obsession with labelling things. Just everything has to be fucking labelled. Lamp, mirror, cat, dog, tree, fucking everything. And then we're not happy to have one type of depression. We have to have fucking 10 types of depression. We're not now happy to have one type of bipolar. There's fucking type 2 bipolar. There's fucking all of these different labels that we create. So if you strip everything back, there's only 2 emotions. There's love and there's fear, and everything else is a derivative of those 2 emotions. And when you can strip it right back to that, it makes it dead easy. It makes life simple. I'm a simple guy. I didn't do well at school. I like to strip shit back, and that serves me. So you are always coming from a place of love or fear. Right now, there's people watching that, and there'll be people coming from a place of fear in terms of they're probably judging me, going, who's this dickhead Jay, still got no qualifications, and that's coming from a place of fear. There'll be people who are watching this who have been following my work for a while, and even if I said something bad that probably was a little bit out of order, or maybe I said something incorrect, they would still love me because they've bought into me, the ethos, what I'm actually doing. And then there'll be people who are watching this who are maybe just interested of, okay, I want to know, I want to sort of see, do I like the guy? Do I want to see his take on it, sort of see what it is. So my advice to people is always be aware of where you're coming from, because you're either coming from a place of love or a place of fear. And if you come from a place of love, then nothing can affect you. It doesn't matter what happens to you. I've got challenges at the moment on our project. You know that. This house is secured on that. If we don't refinance that project, then the reality is, could I lose this house? Yeah, I could lose the house. Am I fazed by it? No, because I'm not the house. I'm not the material things. You can't take away what I've got inside, and this is my fucking point. Forget qualifications. Forget any of this shit what people say. When you can take possession of your own mind, you have the power to put whatever meaning you want onto any situation. So for me, losing my house is only a bad thing if I put that meaning on it. Living outside is only a bad thing if I attach that meaning to it. If I want to attach a different meaning to that, like i.e., okay, I've lost my house, but I'm still with Gemma and the kids. Well, we've got a couple of sleeping bags in the garage. We've got a couple of mess tins. Let's go and have a few barbecues and fucking play drafts at the side of the park bushes. I can control whatever I want, and this is at school we taught what to think, not how to think. And as people, for me, if you can learn about your own mindset and take possession of it, then nothing else matters at all. So that's why I'm not fazed by anything, because I come from a place of love, and everything that I've built up, I know I can get back there if I wanted to. So
yeah. Like I say, obviously on the back of that, at the end of the day, nothing phasing you. Going back to the documentary that you did, observing you take heroin, obviously and not being phased by it was probably the more worrying part at the time. So yeah, that was obviously where that came from there. But guys, if you are watching, make sure you start a watch party there. Get this one shared out to as many people as you can. What does Stephen say about this, the terminology of chemical imbalance? Obviously, that's a term that gets thrown about a lot.
Yeah.
Interested to know your take on that.
Okay. Chemical imbalance doesn't exist. So when people go to the doctors, when they're not feeling too well, they're in a sort of low state, they go see a doctor, they fill out a questionnaire of what sort of thoughts have they had any sort of suicidal thoughts, have they attempted to take their own lives. So they're asked a number of questions on a sheet, and then somebody basically goes, okay, that and that equals that. Oh, you've got bipolar. Oh, you've got depression. Oh, you've got split personality disorder. And they hit them with a label. Now, I know there's doctors watching this, because I've got friends. There's people on this live now that are fucking extremely qualified. And I'm open to talking to this. Like I've said, I'm happy for people to challenge me, because I aren't ever going to change my my perception on this model and who I am, because I've become rock solid because of these particular beliefs. I forgot the question. Where was I going?
It's about chemical imbalance.
Chemical imbalance. Okay. So when people go to the doctors and they carry out this questionnaire and they're given a label, they now become that label. So this is what I talked about 5 minutes ago when I said belief and self-image is everything. If they believe now that I'm that label, I am now bipolar, I have depression, I have split personality disorder, they are going to start living out a life in line with that label, in line with your self-image of who you are. Now, I'll put a post up on this, I'll put a link about chemical imbalance. So this isn't, as people go, oh, fucking Steve Green the builder, why is he talking into chemical imbalance? Where's his fucking qualifications? I'll put up a video of the world's leading psychiatrists talking into chemical imbalance. In fact, I'll challenge any single fucking person who's watching this now to say that if you've ever been to the doctor for depression, did you have a fucking test for serotonin? And the answer's no, you didn't, because there isn't a fucking test for chemical imbalance. It is fucking made up. What happens is, in the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistics Manual, there's a list of things, and if your behaviour is ticking certain things, that's when you get the label of bipolar, depression, whatever it is. And it's nonsense. It's you are acting a particular way because of what's going on in your head. It's like, it's a little bit like saying somebody who stabs people and kills them is a murderer. You've just been labelled something from a particular behaviour. So you go around stabbing people and killing them, you're labelled, okay, he's a murderer. You go around walking around with your head down, feeling shit and saying, oh, I'm feeling depressed and I'm this and that. You're given a label. So it's the behaviour that's creating the label, not the label that's creating the behaviour. Does that make sense? So nobody's born with bipolar. Nobody's born with any of these things. It's the beliefs that we have and the environment that we're in from the ages of 0 to 7 that has the impact on the subconscious mind. So chemical imbalance doesn't exist. So if people are watching this, and this is mega important, and people go, well, what the fuck, I'm on medication. I got told that I had a low serotonin level. Serotonin can be measured in the blood, but there's still no evidence of that being indicating that there's low serotonin in the brain. There's no evidence of that. There has never ever been a test for it. There never will be. They've stated that they won't be able to test for that. It's a lack of doing certain things. So never ever allow the label to dictate your life. All as it means is in that particular part of your life, something was going on that was having an impact on you, and you are behaving a particular way because of the thoughts that are in your head. And it means that if you can change that, or you can get over that particular thing, that trauma, then you can move away from that, exactly like I have. So if people are on medication, I wouldn't recommend just stopping them as well. So if you're on medication, you need to take professional advice from this. And if Jazz is on here, I'm sure he'll be on here. Dr. Jazz, he's a fully qualified doctor. There's people who can advise on this where to wean yourself off. That's what I would say. I wouldn't say just cut your medication, because by taking medication, you've actually been changing the chemistry in your body. And now to just stop that would not be good. So a weaning off process, that's what I tell people.
Yeah.
But I'll put a link of psychiatrists, the world's leading psychiatrists, saying that chemical imbalance doesn't exist. And the only reason why it said that is because out of the back of the DSM, where all medication comes from, we are talking of the biggest companies in the world, multi-billion-pound companies that make their money by people having medication. They rule the fucking what's said.
Yeah, if you just joining us, guys, basically this interview's come about from a conversation that was had, obviously from a post originally that was into a group. Stephen said that he wanted a certain amount of people to message in and said, and he will talk live about it. So I'm putting him in a situation and asking the questions that he gets challenged about. So Stephen can obviously, answer and fight his corner on that one. This is a bit of a weird question, so apologies for asking it, but you put a post up this morning that, what's this thing about orgasm? You could learn a lot about your mental health from an orgasm. You might
Okay.
Sorry for lowering the tone there, guys, but...
Okay. When people talk mental health, when people talk chemical imbalance, everyone shots the word about, I've got a low serotonin level. Serotonin is just a neurotransmitter. There's 4 main neurotransmitters. Everyone just talks about serotonin. There's serotonin, there's dopamine, there's oxytocin, and there's endorphins. And they all have an impact on how we feel. They have a massive impact on us. And serotonin is released. It's a neurotransmitter that's released when we feel important. Again, linked to your self-image. Dopamine is released when we do things that we like, or like target driven. So when we achieve goals, maybe you're running and you catch a train and that, yes, I made it. That's when we release dopamine, and again, a very powerful neurotransmitter. We then have endorphins, which are released when the body's in a state of stress, which comes from physical training. So when we're running, training in the gym and things like that, that's why people, you can maybe think, I can't be arsed going to the gym, and you drag your sorry arse there. You get in the gym and all of a sudden it's like after 20 minutes you feel great, or you go for a run and you get that high and it's like, wow, I feel good. And that's because your body is releasing endorphins into your body. Now, the reason why I talked about orgasm is because that releases a neurotransmitter called oxytocin. And oxytocin is released when we have an orgasm, or when we're connected to someone. So like a mother and a baby, the mother releases oxytocin, and there's a natural bond there between mother and baby. So why am I talking about this? Because let's strip it back. Endorphins are released when we do physical training. You don't just release them. They're released when the body's put in a state of stress and it's put under pressure in the gym, or you're going for a run. It tends to be the more stressful that is. So when you're really pushing and doing sprints and things like that, that's when you'll have a bigger release of endorphins. So if you have a really good hard session in the gym, that behavior will release endorphins. Make sense? Okay. Dopamine is released when we hit goals, when we hit targets, when we hit sales targets, when we're running for a train, when we're maybe having ice cream that we like, whatever that is. It's released by, again, a particular behaviour that's happening. Now, the last two, serotonin and oxytocin, people say, I've got a low serotonin level. Like, I've gone to doctors, I've been told I've got a chemical imbalance, I've got low serotonin. Serotonin is released, it's around your, how important you feel. It's released around your self-image. And again, it's a very powerful feeling for the body. How the fuck, right, I just want you to think of this logically now. Physical training releases endorphins. Setting targets and hitting goals releases dopamine. How the fuck, if serotonin is released off a powerful, a good feeling about your self-image, how the fuck are you going to release serotonin when you are walking around going, my life's shit, this area's shit, the government's shit, my parents this? That doesn't fucking trigger serotonin. You can't just say, oh, where's my fucking daily dose of serotonin? Where's my daily dose of endorphins? The endorphins are released from physical training. The dopamine's released from fucking goal setting, from hitting targets. Serotonin is released based off the back of how we feel, our importance level, our self-image. So people go to the doctor and go, oh, I feel shit. And they go, oh, you've got low serotonin level. You're not producing enough serotonin level. No fucking shit. You're walking around with your fucking head down saying life's fucking shit. How do you think you're going to release serotonin? It's not the lack of serotonin that's making you walk around like that and life's shit. It's the fact that you're approaching life from your perception that's not releasing serotonin. Now, I'll talk into that. Can you make a note of that? Because I'll talk how people can combat that. Because right now people might think, well, I'm in a depressed state. I've had some traumatic. I don't feel like walking around dead lively and this and that. So we'll come back to that because I can show you how we can reverse that. So talking into orgasm, why this comes into it, because orgasm releases oxytocin. And it's a little bit like going to your doctor and saying, okay, so this is going to be like, come across like pretty fucking rude. And I'm going to say it as I always do, so I'm going to be honest. So it's a little bit like going to your doctor and saying, oh, I'm not having an orgasm. And your doctor going, all right, okay, you're attempting to have sex, I guess. No, I'm not attempting to have sex. All right, okay, so you're masturbating. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. Okay, so then how do you expect to have an orgasm if you're not having sex, you're not fucking masturbating? How do you expect to have an orgasm? It's a little bit like saying that the same thing with the endorphins and the physical training. It's the same as the goals and the dopamine, the serotonin, that if you're not doing a particular thing, if you're not having sex or you're not masturbating, you're not going to have an orgasm. That's the byproduct of a particular action. By having an orgasm, you're releasing oxytocin. So let's look at the three now. We understand that we have an orgasm, we feel good. We fucking release oxytocin and go, boom, winner, money shot. We train hard in the gym, release endorphins. We hit targets, release dopamine. Yet we fucking, serotonin's released based around our self-image and how important, how good we feel, yet we expect that we're just going to have a dose of it. We understand that fucking a particular action creates an orgasm releases oxytocin. We understand that going to the gym releases endorphins. We understand it in targets and goals release dopamine. So why the fuck don't we look at it in a logical way and go, why aren't, I'm walking around, my life's shit, I'm looking at everything fucking crap. Of course you're not going to fucking release serotonin. That's the reason why when I work with people and I make them feel important, I raise the self-image, I raise the belief in the self, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what the fuck's that? They're fucking having an orgasm, but in the fucking serotonin world. Yeah. So that's the link to what we can learn from orgasm.
That was just an unexpected post, that was all. Yeah, right, from one extreme to the other, to be fair, mate. This is something else that you get challenged a lot on, and again, it has to come from that post, I guess, but what if someone experiences death and feels depressed? How do they change how they feel?
Okay, so this is a different type of, obviously someone's death, like I had my granddad, for some people it can be really traumatic, and for some people it can ruin their life. They can never get over somebody's death, especially if that death, somebody's been taken away from them in an unexpected way. So maybe it's like a murder or something like that. That can be a lot harder. Or if somebody's maybe died young from an illness, that can be a lot harder for people to actually accept. So there's 5 stages to grieving, to the grieving process. I didn't know this at the time, and this is why I was stuck bouncing. So there's 5 stages. Usually a person will go through all 5. They might not necessarily go through all 5. We tend to go through them in this particular order that I'll tell you, but not always that order, and sometimes you might bounce in between. But what happens is generally we'll be in a state of denial. So usually with death, initially it's like no way, pure shock, and I've experienced that just recently with a guy I went to school with, has just recently died. So rest in peace, Andy, massive respect. You see that and you go, fucking no way. I was only with that person last week. So the first thing what we get triggered with is that state of denial. It's like that shit. The second stage, which tends to come, especially if this is someone close to us. So if it's a family member, a partner, a mum, a dad, or somebody who's been murdered, or somebody who's been taken away unexpectedly, it can then trigger the second stage, which is anger. So that anger can be within themselves, and it can be anger with other people. So blaming other people, it's your fault that this particular person has died. So there's a state of anger there, or there might be anger that you didn't do particular things. So you might have anger with yourself that I wish I'd just told him I loved him. I wish I hadn't had that argument. I wish I hadn't done this. So we go through a state of that. The third stage is bargaining, and the bargaining stage is where the mind is in a spiral, because this is where we're saying things like, if only I'd have done that, if only I hadn't have gone to that place, if only I wasn't driving the car, there wouldn't have been a passenger and we wouldn't have hit that tree. If only this, if only I hadn't split up with my partner, I wouldn't have created that stress on my child. So there's that element of bargaining, and even bargaining where in terms of forgiveness, so a real level of turmoil at that level. And then we have depression. So the fourth stage is depression, and some people get fixed in this state, which is where I was. So I kind of gone through the other stages, and I got stuck, and this is where people often get stuck, is in the state of depression. And that's where you just feel really down that somebody's died, you're thinking about that particular person, and it can create depression. Some people, their entire lives get affected by somebody's death, and they get fixed in that fourth stage of depression. And the last stage is acceptance. And when somebody's able to accept the death, like I did with my granddad, it's weird, because when my granddad died, I didn't think I had a problem. And I look back now and I think, how the fuck couldn't you see the signs? I wouldn't look at a picture of him. I wouldn't even travel down Retcar Lane, because that's where he was buried. So I would go the whole way around Retcar, just so I didn't go past Retcar Lane where the graveyard was. And I was doing all of these weird things. If I seen a picture on my phone, I'd quickly swipe the other way, because I wouldn't want to go there. So I was in a complete state of denial, burying it, the same way that I coped with shit in the military, of just forget about it and then the problem's gone away. Bury your head in the sand and then it's gone. And the last stage is acceptance. And when I had that counselling, that was when I was able to, for the first time that day, on my fourth session in the counselling, when I really broke down, was I thought about my granddad all day. And it gets me a bit emotional now, that it was just a really nice feeling that he'd passed away probably 6 months, 9 months, might have even been as far as a year. It was probably close to it. In fact, it was close to a year that I hadn't had any thoughts about him at all. And all day, it was just nice to be able to have that. And that's when I'd gone into a state of acceptance. So if somebody has had experienced a death, for me, especially if it's someone who's really close to you, that can be really difficult for people. So doubt, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. That's the 5 stages. And I think if somebody can be aware of them stages, they can actually monitor where they are and what they're actually doing, and you'll tend to bounce. There might be an element of denial again, of no, it hasn't happened, to anger, to feeling a bit depressed, back to depression, back to anger, and literally just bouncing between these emotions. Like things like death can have a big impact on us.
I'm going to go off piece the slate here and say, given what you're doing now, what would your granddad have said about what you were?
What would he have said?
In the time that's gone by, of the things that you have achieved, which doesn't go unnoted, what would he say?
If you'd have asked me that question 4 months ago, it might have triggered something that I triggered 4 months ago. So next month, we're on the programme where we done the house swap, and we were sat in this front room and I was being interviewed, and obviously the guys on Channel 5, very, very experienced. I knew they were going to ask certain questions to fucking trigger them emotions, but I'm fine now. I've got acceptance over my granddad's death, and I've actually evolved further from them, where I actually don't believe death exists now. I think it's man-made, that all energy, it can't be created, or energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only transform. So I don't actually believe in death now, but I was asked the question, that similar question of something along the lines of what would your granddad think now of what you're doing? And for the first time, I'd never realised this, and you'll watch it on Channel 5. I got really, really emotional. I literally broke down in this house because it was the realisation for the first time that my granddad had to die in order for me to live. And that it gives me two mixed emotions. You might trigger me here. It gives me the emotion that my granddad taught me how to love. He was probably the one person that gave me that, just how doting he was, and I didn't realise that until later on in my life. So that was just, he would have done that. He would have sacrificed his life in order for me to be happy. So that's why it probably hit me hard. That's why I'm probably feeling it a little bit now. And then there's the other side of it, of not wanting to lose him. He was a key person in my life. He brought me up. So very mixed emotions, but I know he'd be mega proud. And my granddad comes through me. I honestly believe that his impact it's in me, it's in my behaviour, it's in what I do now. We never had anything, so as a child, people sometimes criticise me and go, you were brought up with a silver spoon in your mouth, or it's all right for you, you're a millionaire, you've got money and shit like that. I was brought up with fuck all. I was brought up in a council house. I never had butter. The first time I fucking tried butter was when I was fucking 12 years old. And I remember it fucking thinking all my birthdays had come at once. I didn't go on holiday abroad until I was 16-year-old, until I was starting to earn a bit of money and I could actually pay towards being taken away on holiday. I never experienced that stuff. I was brought up in a council house. So when people say, you don't understand, it's fucking bullshit. But what my grandma and granddad taught me was, even though they had nothing, they used to go make scones for people, and they used to say, we're taking scones for the old people. And it was just, even though they never had anything, they just completely give to other people. And another little thing, probably going on a tangent, was watching them in the street. Like, in my old house in Rushpool Close, they would sweep the whole street, like literally, not just outside of their gate, they would sweep the road. So not the garden, it's like going out on the main road, and they used to sweep the road, but not even just the road outside theirs. They would sweep the road, the entire Rushpool, all the way around, put it in piles, bag it up, and it was like a fucking 2 hour 2-hour job to go around, all the way around, and then on the other side of the road and sweep it all up. And they used to do that once a month, and I used to do that as a kid. And I remember I used to look and say, like, why are we sweeping other people's? Why aren't they doing it? Why are we the only ones that's doing the whole street? But they had that real sense of fucking pride of just that fucking discipline, that pride of this is what you do, and that shit fucking that's deep embedded into me. That's why I believe that I give at the level that I do.
It's a conversation for another time, but I do firmly believe, as I'm sure you do, that there's a special connection between people and their grandparents in particular, but that is a conversation for another time. But if you are watching, guys, make sure that you do share this, like I say. So I've got the upper hand today. I get to ask some questions, so like I say, make sure you share this, and obviously, yeah. Right, next question. You get asked this a lot. How can somebody improve their mood? How can I improve my mood? Now, because you say, and it's a discipline, but it's how do you improve a mood?
Okay, so to define mood, I call mood state, and I know people often, this is one of the questions that we see a lot, how can I change my mood? Your mood is a state, your state is it's basically your emotions, so your mood is a particular emotional state. There's 3 ways that we can change our emotions. So one is the story that we tell ourselves. So we all have a story. Every single person who's watching this has a story, and that might be poor old me, or this is shit, or that shit. And they might have different stories. So some of it might be negative, of poor old me, I'm shit at pulling birds, but they might go, I'm fucking awesome at making money though. Like, so whatever someone's story is impacts their emotional state. So we all have a story. Be aware of your story is what I would say. What story are you telling yourself? Because that story is going to manifest into everything that you see, your house, your car, your partner, everything you do. We're telling ourselves a story. Get aware of your story, and if you don't like your story or it's not serving you, fucking change the story. So that's number 1. Number 2 is our physiology. So if you were sat there now and you were maybe feeling a little bit lethargic or something like that, you've come home, hard day's work, if I got you to do 1,000 knees to the chest and press ups and changed your physiology, that changes our emotions. So people tend to walk around like, if they're feeling a bit shit, with shoulders over, head sort of down, and yeah, things are shit. You can actually change how you feel by pulling your shoulders back, lifting your head up, and actually saying to yourself, changing your physiology, and actually saying to yourself, I feel better, I feel good. That will change your emotions, so your physiology. And the last one is what you focus on. There is not a doctor in the world, this video will obviously go on our YouTube, there is not a doctor in the world that will be able to deny that our thoughts control our emotions. That's a fucking fact. It's a human fact that what we think about, what we focused on, changes how we feel. So we can do this one really, really quickly. You watch Tony Robbins, he's very effective at doing this. So if you've watched the thing on Netflix with I'm Not Your Guru, Tony Robbins, when somebody's in front of him and they're telling him that I'm depressed, they're crying, they're saying I want to end my life right now, and there's a particular guy and he does something called a pattern interrupt, and he says to him, is it because of your red shoes? And the guy like looks down and he's like, you see the pure shock in his face, and if you search it, if you go on I'm Not Your Guru and check, and this guy's like, dude, I'm telling you I want to fucking commit suicide and you're fucking laughing at my red shoes, and you can see that confusion. Now, some people I've actually seen posts where people say Tony Robbins was disrespectful in that particular thing. It wasn't disrespectful at all. That's someone with a skill set who understands exactly what he's doing. I recognise that because I know the skills he's using. It's a pattern interrupt. take him out of, oh, I'm depressed, I'm feeling shit, to my red shoes, then he starts laughing, and Tony Robbins says, hey, don't keep smiling like that, you might stay happy. And then the guy can't help it, he starts fucking laughing more. So we can change our emotions by what we think on. So again, it's a level of awareness. If you've got a particular feeling of anger, hate, jealousy, envy, depression, feeling depressed, whatever that is, get aware of what's the thought that's created that emotion, because the emotion is the body's reaction to what's going on in the mind. We get to control our thoughts. It's just that we're in a subconscious state around about 90% of the day, so we're running on autopilot, and the subconscious mind is running our thoughts, roughly 30,000 thoughts a day. It's a fucking lot. But if you shift your thoughts, get aware of what am I focused on, and you shift your thoughts, you can change your emotions like that. The only downside to that is it's only a temporary thing. So again, if your thoughts go back over to that particular thing, like a relationship breakup or somebody's death or something like that, then you're going to trigger the emotions again back in line with those particular things. If you can learn to change the meaning, the story, you'll have a long-term impact. So 3 ways. Physiology, that's why it's proven going to the gym helps with our mood, because one, it's releasing dopamine, and the action of training, the changing your physiology actually changes your emotions as well. Changing your story long term and changing your focus is really quick for changing your emotions as well.
Spot on.
We get asked that one a lot, don't we?
Yeah, and something you put on this morning as well, Friday the 13th, and it means nothing. So I'm presuming you might be talking about whether people have a black cat, that sort of thing, to see a black cat Friday the 13th. Is that what you're getting at, or something else?
Yeah, I mean, I used to be bad for this, so I was brought up around superstitions. So if you put a brolly up in a house, that was fucking bad luck. If you walked underneath of a ladder, that was bad luck. If you crossed somebody on the stairs, that was bad luck. If you smashed a mirror, that was fucking 7 years bad luck. Fuck, that ruined my life for about 3 years, that, until I forgot about that one. So I was brought up around a lot of superstitions. Don't wear a cap, it makes you fucking go bald. Superstitions are just a belief. It's as simple as that. And it's about the meaning, it's the belief that we have and the meaning we've attached to that particular thing. So when I said this morning, I forget it now, it's Friday the 13th, what does it mean? Absolutely fuck all. It only means something if you've attached the meaning to it. So if somebody's maybe had a particular bad day on a Friday the 13th and things happen and they go, fucking Friday the 13th, next time one comes around and they're like, fuck, they start to look for it. And there's a science behind this. It ties in with the law of attraction. The reason the law of attraction is true, and some people say, is it true, is it not? The science behind it is your RAS. So in your brain you have something called the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system tunes in on certain things. It's like the secretary to the boss. So it allows certain information to come through. What was the question? I've lost where I was going.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. So there was some people today who put on that post, Friday the 13th is a fucking great day. It's my birthday. I was born on Friday the 13th, or some people were like married on Friday the 13th. So for them, they've attached a good meaning to it. And for some people, if they've attached a bad meaning to it, then you are more likely, you'll attract, the Buddha said, as we think, that was in the Bible, as we think, so shall we become. It was similar to that, I forget.
So do you think, expanding on that then, people attach certain times of year or a particular date and that becomes then a trigger point?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So I would say for people to practice this, so I do this at events. So I ask people, I say, think about something or someone that pisses you off. And when you think about that particular thing, for some people it's maybe people eating near them, or doing a particular thing that maybe is making a squeaky noise, where you're like a blackboard, scraping your nails down a blackboard. These trigger things have a look at someone or something that pisses you off, and if it's someone, see if you can change the meaning on it. See if you can see the qualities in that person. So yeah, all right, they might be a twat, they might annoy you. I annoy a lot of people. What I say to people is, look at that person, what strengths and qualities do they have? See if you can change the meaning on the person a bit. Do the same with a situation. So if something's not serving you and it's pissing you off a particular thing, see if you can look at the other side of it. So it might be the nagging wife. So blokes in the fucking hour last do my head and fucking whinging all the time. That's general lads fucking chat in the pub. She might be whinging because she cares about a particular thing. It might be because it's another value of, I don't want you spending money in the pub because I want that money for a holiday. Or it might be she's complaining about you going out without your jacket on because she actually doesn't want you to become fucking ill. So try and flip it on its head and see if you can change the meaning. If you can change the meaning, for me, everything is perception. So going back to that question before of people who are maybe feeling depressed and it's like, well, how do I change my mood? Get awareness of your thoughts, get awareness of the story you're telling yourself, and get awareness of your perception. How are you seeing things? And see if you can slowly, just one by one, change your perception to a particular thing or a particular person. And this is all I've done. It wasn't an overnight thing. I work at this every day. And again, this is a logical thing. So we understand as people that you go in the gym and you train hard over a period of time, you'll get an improved body. I would like to think that everybody watching this knows you don't walk into a gym once and come out like the bronze Adonis and you look mint and that's it, I'm done for 40 years. So why the fuck do people think that you can do that with a mind? Or I can think positive or go on a one-day training course and that's it, that's me done, my fucking personal development's done for the next 50 years. The mind's no different to the body. If you're not training it, you're not looking after it, you're not putting the right things in, like your body, you're putting pizzas in and coke and you're not going to the gym, expect that you're going to fucking put weight on and you're going to fucking, your body's going to start to lose tone, it's going to start to lose shape. It's exactly the same with the mind. You start reading shit around newspapers, murders, putting yourself around negative people, negative situations, and you're expecting to have a fucking positive mind. For me, that's the definition of fucking insanity.
Yeah. Like I say, if you are watching this, make sure you obviously hit the share button there. Yeah, good. Following on from that, again, coming back to the post, and it kind of ties in, to be fair, you might have covered this, medication. Needed or not?
No. Medication's not needed. Does it have a place? I do think it has a place. So for me, if somebody hasn't taken medication, but they're feeling low, a doctor's recommended it, have a look what's going on in your life, because we know that there's no chemical imbalance. You're feeling not good because you're not empowered in a particular way. So you're not releasing one of the 4 neurotransmitters. Going to the gym will release one, setting some goals and targets. That's why goals and targets are so fucking important for humans, because it releases the fucking neurotransmitter, dopamine. Go and have some more fucking sex. Go get laid. That will make you fucking feel better. And serotonin will be released if you can work on yourself. So you start working on your own emotional intelligence, your self-image, your beliefs, then you'll trigger serotonin. So you need to get to the root cause. You need to understand, why do you feel shit in the first place? What's going on in your life, or what's not going on in your life, and start looking at the problem. Stop fucking looking, because the second you go, I've got low serotonin, it comes right back to that first thing of, I'm not taking responsibility. I've now went, there's a reason why I feel shit. It's not my fault, it's low serotonin. You can never ever be empowered as a person when you've put it on a fucking label. So take responsibility, look at it and go, I don't feel too good right now. My emotions today, I've not had a very good day. What is it that's triggered that bad day? And one of the main things that stops people from being successful and being happy is the search for validation and approval, that's one of the reasons why I'm so content, because I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks about me. I can do this video and I don't give a flying fuck if there's 10,000 negative messages. I don't need approval off anyone. I don't need anyone's approval. I don't need anyone's validation. I know how I feel. I do my things because I believe I'm doing the best for me and other people, and I put my head down on a pillow at night. So stay away from medication, look at the problem. If you're on medication, then don't just stop, don't just come off it, as I've said before, but start to look at the root cause and set yourself some targets to wean off it. Start to create the feel-good factor, serotonin, by improving your self-image and your beliefs. And you do that by personal growth. That's why when people say, oh, that personal growth stuff, it's a scam. Personal growth has put me where I am now. I wouldn't have the mindset that I have without some of the mentors that I've had that have helped me get to this particular place. You put yourself around positive people who will stretch your mind. That's why for me, I invest, as you know, usually £30,000-40,000 a year of my money into personal growth. So no, it's not needed. However, if somebody's maybe experienced a death, or they're in a really low state and they are looking to take their lives, they are like a really, really low state, I would potentially say that if that person's going to take their life, and only in this situation that somebody is literally that low, they need to be fucking sectioned, there is a place for giving that person medication in my eyes, because you could settle them. You'll automatically, I'm not disputing that, you give someone an antidepressant, it is going to release serotonin in the body, but it's not solving the problem, it's not getting the root cause. But if that's enough for them to just settle down, and then with some mindset training, but I wouldn't be fucking shotting like months of medication at someone. It would maybe be, there's a fucking couple of days worth, and then straight away into some sort of mindset plan.
So do you think medication is a form of plaster?
Yeah, absolutely. You're masking the problem. You are completely masking the problem. It's when you look at medication, so 1/3 of all medication is through what we call placebo effect. So placebo effect, this is proven. So medication, when it works, 1/3 of this is proven through tests to be through the placebo effect. I think most people, most people know what the placebo effect is. So the placebo effect is the belief in something. So you believe that a particular tablet, so you can give someone a sugar pill. You give someone a sugar pill and they've got a headache, and you go, there you go, there's 2 really strong painkillers, and you give them the tablets, and that will cure the headache. That's proven. Placebo effect is proven. So what are we looking at here? The sugar pill didn't fucking cure the headache. It was the belief in the sugar pill that that cured the headache. It was the physical belief changed the biology in a person. Now, there's a reverse of this. There's the nocebo effect, which not many people know about. It's not really talked about. And the nocebo effect is the opposite to the placebo effect, where placebo effect is believing that something will work, believing the sugar pill will cure my headache because it's a headache tablet and it cures the headache. Nocebo effect is having negative thoughts that I've got cancer, I'm going to get the fucking, what's this fucking bat bug that everyone, the fucking corona. So people being in that complete state of fear, they are, one, your body will always be in a state of growth or protection, and you are putting your body under stress. You're releasing cortisol into your body, and you're also now more receptive to get particular things. So through the nocebo effect, negative thinking kills people. Negative thinking creates diseases and kills people every single fucking day. Thousands of people a day. And that's why having a positive mind and having a clean mind is mega, mega important.
Yeah, and another thing, not everyone has, this is something, again, it was challenged massively against what you're saying, is not everyone has the same problem, so how can you treat everything or everyone the same?
Okay, this is one that really pisses people off as well. So, when people say this one approach doesn't work for everyone, every person, it does work for every person as long as they can be open to it. And the reason why it works, it doesn't matter if it's a death, it doesn't matter if it's sexual assault, it doesn't matter if it's physical assault, it doesn't matter if it's somebody who's lost the job, it doesn't matter if it's stress of not having money. The way that I see it is all of these different things, like sexual abuse is a big bag of trauma, and it's like imagine having a big fucking bin bag of shit that something's happened, it's not the person's fault, but they're now dealing with this big bag of shit that they're fucking carrying on the back. Another big bag of shit could be somebody who's lost the job. Another big bag of shit could be somebody who's experienced a death. So there's all of these different experiences, big bags of shit, and some people have 3, 4, 5 big bags of trauma, of things that have happened to them in their lives. And some people will go, I had that, and I had physical abuse, and I had sexual abuse, and I lost my job, and I watched my mum beat my dad, or vice versa, or watched my dad go to jail when I was a kid. And they've got all of these bags of shit, and I'm not disputing that people have got these trauma. If there isn't a person who's watched this who hasn't had some sort of shit in their life, then they're a fucking liar. Every single person has fucking experienced, has got some of these bags of trauma, some of these bags of crap that we carry around with us. Life tends to beat you up, and you have these bags. So all of these different experiences are all different, they're all different bags. My solution is let the fucker go. Let the fucker go. Once you let it go, it doesn't matter how many bags of shit or what colour they are. This bag of shit's pink, this bag of shit's black, this bag of shit's yellow, and some people have got 10 bags of shit. It's the same solution to say, release it and let it go. Now, I know that's easier said than done, and some people go, oh, it's all right to say that. I've experienced this, and I get that. I'm not saying it's as easy as just go and let it go. I'm not saying that. And if somebody's had trauma where they've had maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things, or a whole life of it, like Michael, who recently, fuck me, like how the strength that guy has to, I know he tried to take his life on numerous occasions, but to still be here and to have not took his life, what fucking inner strength that guy has. And Michael would be the first to admit that he probably had every fucking bag of shit and every fucking trauma that you could fucking experience in life. Like, he literally, Kevin is another one that's gone through extreme things. It might take a little bit longer to show people how to get rid of them particular bags of trauma, but there's still the same solution. This is the answer to everything. Each of these, as you know, means something, and when I take people through them 10 steps, they will release every one of them, that trauma. So it doesn't matter, yes, I get different experiences, I totally get it, completely different experiences, but the way you release it is exactly the same.
Yeah, speaking of Michael, it's one thing I wanted to chat to you about, is that was my first experience. I think I'd only been around sort of a couple of weeks by the time that Strength to Succeed in July last year. For people who don't know who Michael is, as I say, Stephen's just touched upon it there, it's a guy who's completely transformed his life. Literally weeks up until the the Strength to Succeed, the event that Steve puts on for free regarding mental health. He was going to take his life. He's now literally a different man. I had to double take him. I didn't recognise him. We were just doing the Strength to Succeed, and he was talking. And not only that, I'd been speaking to him for the whole week. And then he came in the door, and I had to double check. I was working, looked up, genuinely didn't know who it was. My question about Mike is, what the hell was that? The 36 minutes 42 is what that footage was.
It's on YouTube. People can watch that.
Yeah, go on YouTube. Mike Lancaster live transformation. That was possibly one of the most bizarre experiences I think I've ever had, and I was obviously watching it take place. So you might want to explain, even to the people that were at Strength to Succeed, what that was.
Okay, so as Dean said, Michael Lancaster, if you're watching, if you go onto my YouTube channel and somebody recorded it from the audience, I brought Michael onto stage. So it was a good friend of mine, Adam Stretton, brought Michael to the Strength to Succeed event, which we put on free twice a year. And he said, I'm really concerned about him. He's a really good lad. He's tried to take his life a couple of times in the past couple of months. And this is really his last hope. And if there's one person that I know can help him, it's you. And I brought him on the stage, did a live transformation in how long? How was it?
36 minutes.
In 36 minutes, he's lost, I don't know. Michael, if you're watching, is he on? Do we know if he's...
I'm not too sure.
Michael, if you're on, if you are willing to put a picture of yourself of before and after, and a little bit about that, then that'd be amazing to share with other people to actually show them, anyone who's maybe skeptical now of, okay, it sounds good, the guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about, but if they're skeptical, and I get it, because some of the claims that I'm making, I get why people doubt me. I don't take it personal. It's people say to me, and you know, you've experienced this hundreds of times now, that I've been on medication for 20 years. I've been a psychologist, psychiatrist. I've been to mindset training. I've been to CBT. I've been to therapists. All my life, nothing helped me. What the fuck did you do to me in that short period of time? Well, what I've done with Michael is what you're seeing there is 18 years of fucking obsession and training in human behaviour. That's got fuck all to do with going to university and getting a degree. And like I said, this is no disrespect to doctors, because I've got massive respect, like I say, for anyone who's helping anyone with mental health. I've got fucking massive respect for them completely. And we have different ways. A doctor trains for what? 8 years? I've been training for 18 years. Most doctors, I'm guessing, they don't have to go back and have annual tests and stuff like that. For some people, it's like, fucking great, I've got that over. I've passed my master's degree. I can be a doctor. I don't want my training to stop. I'm fucking obsessed. So for me, I've been training for probably 3 times longer than what a doctor has in this stuff. Now, will a doctor know particular things that I won't? Absolutely. I don't need to go that deep into the anatomy and physiology of the body, although I do know it pretty well. I only need to go to a level of this. That works. I keep everything fucking dumbed down. I go to a level that this shit fucking works, and I just master that. I've learned to master that. That fucking works. And I've had 18 years. I've had 18 years of studying this particular thing, and I've had a whole life experience of, I've fucking lived with mental health. I've experienced mental health. I've experienced it with my family, with my best mate taking the life. So for me, I believe that all of that pain, everything that happened to me, all of that was meant to happen. I am so grateful for everything in my life, and the way that my dad was with me, and he was mega, mega tough on me as a kid. I'm grateful for every bit of that, because without any of that, I might not have been who I am today. But what I have learned is these skills can be passed on, and that's why people I'm training in Redcar, where apparently there's an opportunity, making a shitload of money, they're feeling better than they've ever have, building relationships, they feel content in themselves because I'm able to pass that knowledge on. I've gone on a tangent. What was the question?
No, you were there. It was to do with, obviously, with Mike and what.
So what did I do? Yeah. So 18 years of experience you're witnessing in a 36-minute video. Unless somebody's extremely skilled, they will not be able to pick up what I'm doing in that video. It'll just look like an interview like this. There's 18 years of skill set of me sat a particular way. If you watch the video, you'll watch me matching and mirroring. So you'll watch me copying Michael's body language, because when we communicate, what we say only actually makes up 7%. 38% tonality, so the way we say something, and 55% body language. So I've got good at studying body language. I've got good at studying someone's tonality. So there's 18 years worth of skill and training in that 36 minutes. What did I do with him in a nutshell? I took him through a process. I basically fucked with we think in pictures. So if I say door to you, the word you don't in your head see D-O-O-R, you see a picture of a door. If I say car, you don't see C-A-R, you see a picture of a car. We think in pictures. And when we have traumatic experiences, we attach pictures to things in the mind. And what I basically done in a nutshell was completely fucked with that picture. All of that trauma that he'd had for 25 years or something like that, fucking how he got through that and even got to that event is amazing. But I fucked up with the pictures in his head. I re-scrambled them, and that's why he can't access them. Like he said, what did you do to me? Like, I'm unable now to access that fucking shit feeling that I had. And that's because I basically fucked with the pictures in his head, but in a good way.
Speaking of strength to succeed, and on a completely unrelated note, I know how much of a good dad you are, and someone else made a starring role at Strength to Succeed. There's two things I want to ask you about, Sadie. Is one, you've clearly instilled mindset to her from a young age, because I know you tell the story, about school attendance being one thing, but also the fact that she was obviously has the courage, the confidence to speak in front of a large number.
Yeah, it's all to do with our beliefs. I'm fortunate that I've got that skill set. As a parent, a child we're formed by our environment, we're formed by our beliefs, we're formed by what's going on around us, what we're exposed to. So because I've got this skill set now, I've learnt to program them beliefs in Sadie. So every day I tell her she's amazing. Every day I tell her I love her. Every day she knows she's safe. Every single day she creates something. I tell her that she's creative. I give her that time. So those beliefs that she's got is the reason why her attendance at school is almost what's the word? Exemplary. Because from the age of 3 years old, I have programmed her that bugs can't get in the positive mind. So she believes that as long as I keep a positive mindset, then I can't get ill. It's a belief. She's owned that. And I do work with Sadie every day. So if Sadie gets upset, I ask her how she's thinking. We discuss the fact that she's not got control over her mind because she's allowing her thoughts to control a particular type of emotions. And she's very good at this. And if ever I slip off, and sometimes I do slip off a little bit, I aren't fucking perfect. I can refer back to about 3 years ago. So me and my brother Sean, when Sean was working for us 2 years ago, maybe, we had an argument in the office, and it was quite heated. And we came home, and Sadie said to me, Dad, you and Uncle Sean didn't control your thoughts very well, did you?
How old was she at the time?
She'd have been 7 or 8.
I mean, that's quite a comment from a 7-year-old.
Yeah, she's had a vision board since she was 4 years old, and she's been journaling now for 5 years at least. So she's been journaling since she was sort of 5 years old. And like the other night, for example, she we create this. I know that. Of the old let the kids sleep in the bed thing. I'm a bit of a softie at times, and obviously you blur them lines, kids are going to want to take advantage of that. So Sadie was wanting to sleep, she was saying to her mum, can I sleep in the bed and stuff, and she said no, it's a school night, you can on the weekend. And Sadie got a little bit upset. Now she doesn't normally get upset with things like that, it's quite unusual for her, so she had a little bit of a sulk and she went out the room. And literally within, I would say, 3 minutes, she came back down, and she'd obviously got awareness that I'm not controlling my thoughts, I'm controlling this fucking shit state that I'm in. And she came back down and apologised and said I shouldn't have been that way, and smiling. And that acceptance, like just that battle of, okay, my thoughts got the better of me there. I was in an unconscious state. I was a trigger. I wanted that. I couldn't have that. And she's very, very good now at regulating. And that's why she can stand on a stage and speak to 200 adults and perform the way she is going to be. She already is. Her emotional intelligence is fucking frightening, and her creativity levels. You put 6 years, 8 years on her, and fuck her, she's going to take over the world. And that's because I've literally, if she wants to take over the world, at the moment she wants to do hair and beauty, and I don't have any restrictions on Sadie at all. I tell her to follow her passion, and that's what I say to anyone else. Follow your passion. It's not about money, it's about being happy. So yeah, one to watch for definitely.
No, like she is. Like I say, she's an absolute cracker. 2 questions to finish off on.
Okay. Why do I get the feeling these are going to be bad ones? Or not bad, but these are going to be the tricky ones.
One
Yeah.
is what you doing all this for? What's
Yeah.
the purpose?
Okay.
Why do you go on like you do about it?
Yeah.
And secondly, the question that I know you ask a lot of people involved with what you do. It's Stephen's funeral. What is it that people are going to say, or what would it you would like to think, hope to think, wish to think people would say about Stephen Green?
I fucking use my own question on me. Okay, why do I do it? I found a purpose bigger than myself. So I believe that being small, my parents splitting up, being ill as a child, being in hospital a lot, being brought up in a council house, all of these things were building my character, the whole lot. I genuinely believe that I've got a purpose. All of that was meant to happen to me in order to give to other people. And I genuinely believe that if people have had traumatic things happen to them, it's not their fault. But these people, if somebody's experienced something traumatic, they've got a strength that other people don't have. And if they can learn how to use those experiences and flip them on their head, these people are the best people to help people in situations. So I believe my entire life was just part of the fucking story. They were all chapters, layering up to be this absolutely rock solid, bulletproof mindset that I have now. So it's my mission, in a sentence, to raise the collective consciousness of the entire world. I want my work to spread. I want to help as many people as I can. I want people to realise their potential, because nobody performs at the level they can, including myself. We have got unlimited potential, all of us, and we're capable of so much more. And I want to help people release that. The second question: what do I want people to say about me at my funeral? Okay, what do I want people to say about me at my funeral? That he cared. He probably had an unusual way. He was very direct. He had his own way. It wasn't for everybody. But he genuinely cared. He wanted to help people, and he impacted my life. I want people to, I want to know that I've impacted people's lives. One of my mentors once said to me, I forget the exact thing, but you'll know your level of significance of what you've done through your life, of how many people attend your funeral. And if you know that you've only got 1 or 2 people at your funeral, then go out and start doing something, because it doesn't mean have loads of friends, because I particularly now I've got a fairly small group of best mates, but anybody at all can go and impact somebody else's life. And part of the 7 human needs, which we'll maybe come back to on another video, every human has 7 human needs, and contribution is one of those. And when we're contributing and we're helping other people, that which we do to others, we do for ourselves, and you are feeling that which you do to other people. So if people are feeling down, go do something for somebody else. That's the quickest way to feel good. So I just want people, I just want to know that people say that they probably are going to say that I was bizarre, I had a strange way, but he cared, and he made an impact on my life.
And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the questions asked. Like I say, if you've still got time to share that, just make sure that everyone obviously gets that shared, to make sure that a lot of people have seen that. This conversation has happened because of, in light of, like I say, the post that we have put in various groups where, we wanted to get, I suppose, your version of where it all comes from.
Yeah, to sort of put a close to it, I would say to people that working on yourself is the most key thing that you can do. By taking possession of your own mind, emotional intelligence is far more important than IQ. So if you look at my post today, look at my school reports, I struggle with particular things. I struggle with reading the instructions on a microwave box. I struggled with instructions on a Kinder Egg. I struggled with skills in the army. I struggled with learning how to strip a weapon and put it back together. I was always the last one to learn. And it's about understanding that we all have our strengths and weaknesses. Don't try and conquer your weaknesses. Just ignore your weaknesses, plug them, let somebody else do them, and focus on your strengths, because every single one of us have them. And if you've got children, it's your responsibility to make sure that child knows what their strengths are. Work with them every single day and tell them that they're amazing. Support them. Believe. Look at positive books. Look at positive material. The more you can put yourself around positive things. And can I get this in anywhere before we... can I give a quick breakdown of what that is? So this is my own unique model, discipline. And it's what I've called my company, Discipline Limited, and it's the 10 steps what we all need for success. So the D is desire. Desire is the starting point of all success. Nothing has ever happened and ever will happen without it. You need to know what it is, where you're going, what's your direction. The I is imagination, that's visualization. So imagination is having a clear vision. It was written in the Bible, it doesn't matter if you're religious or not, where there is no vision, the people perish. So it's mega important that we have a clear vision. The reason why people don't have a clear vision is because it's beaten out of us at school, because like me, on them reports, knocking me down for daydreaming, when visioning is our biggest fucking power. It's the invisible power that we all hold, and we don't daydream because it's beaten out of us at school. So it's about tapping back into that power. The S is the subconscious mind. Subconscious mind is the powerhouse. It is way more powerful than the conscious mind. We can maybe cover that in another video. But you improve the subconscious mind by putting yourself in positive environments, around positive people, constantly reading positive material, watching positive material. Once the subconscious mind has owned that shit, your whole behaviour just starts to change. The C is the cycle of performance. I'm not going to go into that now, but it's a model on psychology of why we all get results, mega important. The I is the I am, which is around our self-image, so around the person that you are. So whatever you say, be very careful around the words that follow I am. So I am good, I am confident, I'm willing to give this a try. If you say things like I am dumb, or I didn't do this very well, or I failed that test, or I am ugly, or any of those things, your life will completely manifest off the back of your own story. The P is persistence. So we have to have persistence. We've got to keep going, keep going, keep going. I don't believe in plan Bs. Plan Bs are for fucking losers. Have a plan A, know what your vision is, don't ever fucking stop till you get there. The L is lasting goals, so that's my own model. Again, I'm not going to talk into that now, but I've got my own model that I've created. When people follow it, they're able to achieve any goals that they want in life. The last I is you're in a circle, so that's around putting yourself around people that'll empower you. If you're around people that are bringing you down, and all is to do is say negative shit about you, get them out of your fucking life. Get around people who want to champion you, people who want to lift you, people who are going to take it to the next level. And if you haven't got that around you, that's why you benefit from being in groups like the Property Investment Academy and some of the other groups that we have, because you start to put yourself around people that genuinely want you to succeed. The L is nullify. And that's nullifying procrastination. Procrastination is putting shit off. Be fucking disciplined, because discipline is the foundation of all success. Nothing's ever happened, nothing will ever happen if discipline's not in place. And the last D is to enlighten others. And what that means is give back, because that which you do to others, you do for yourself. I hope you've enjoyed that, and that's it from me.
I've got to do this crazy thing now where I've got to hop over there and stop the video, but I hope you've enjoyed that, and I have a strange feeling we'll be doing this again, because I've personally enjoyed it. I'm going to shake your hand. Okay, can I say one more thing actually? If you have been impacted by my work at all, at any point, please can you just in the comments write me, just write me. So if you've done any work with me, you've been mentored by me, maybe it's in property, business, mindset, or my YouTube videos, please write me in the comments. That's not to feed my ego, although it will a bit. What it's for is to let other people who are going to watch this video maybe sat on the fence and go, fuck me. That's a lot of people that have been impacted by this work. And thanks very much, guys. It's been a pleasure, and we will speak soon with another video. Thank you.